The Great Hall was bigger than most cities. 12 different alien races sat around a table that could have held 1,000 beings. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and the air hummed with translation devices that let everyone understand each other. Elder Kethvar was the oldest being in the room. His kind had been traveling between stars for over 5,000 years. His skin looked like old leather, and his 4 eyes had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. Today, those eyes were filled with worry. The humans have learned to travel faster than light, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the huge room. They will reach our space soon. The other council members looked at each other. Some laughed. Others made sounds that meant they thought the old alien was being silly. Counselor Vextra was from a warrior race called the Tharkans. She had won many battles and feared nothing. Her red skin gleamed under the lights as she stood up. One small race from a backwater planet? Our spies tell us they can barely travel to their own moon without problems. The Nexari were known for being the smartest race in the galaxy. Commander Zil-Uk spoke for them. His blue tentacles moved in patterns that showed he was amused. Elder Kethvar, times have changed. We have weapons that can destroy suns. Our shields can stop anything. What could these mammals do to us? Kethvar closed his eyes and remembered things from long ago. My people met them once when we were young and foolish. The humans were nothing then. They lived in small groups and fought with metal swords. But even then, they were different. They did not think like other races. They did not fight like other races. A young Zephyrian named Keltos spoke up. His people were peaceful traders who hated war. What do you mean, different? The old elder stood slowly. His body was tired from thousands of years of life. Most races fight until they realize they cannot win. Then they surrender or run away. Humans do not do this. When they cannot win, they change the rules of the fight. More laughter filled the room. The council members had heard many stories from the elder over the years. Most of them sounded like fairy tales. Give us an example, said Ambassador Felnar from the Crystalline Collective. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her emotions. Right now, she was glowing green, which meant she was curious, but not worried. Kethvar walked to the center of the room. The floor became a screen that showed images from his memory. We found them on their home world during what they call their medieval times. A small human army was trapped in a castle by a much larger enemy force. They had no food, no water, and no way to escape. The images showed human soldiers with metal armor and weapons. They looked primitive compared to the aliens watching. Any smart race would have surrendered, Kethvar continued. Instead, they waited until nightfall. Then they opened their own gates and charged into an army 10 times their size. That sounds like suicide, said General Mordak from the Hegemony military forces. That is what we thought too. But they did not attack the main army. They went straight for the enemy leader's tent. In one night, they killed the opposing general and his top commanders. The big army fell apart without leaders. The humans won a battle they should have lost. The council members were quiet for a moment. But then Commander Ziluk spoke again. That was thousands of years ago. Surely they have become more civilized now. Kethvar shook his head sadly. You do not understand. This is not about being civilized or uncivilized. This is about how their minds work. Humans see every problem as something they can solve if they just try hard enough. They do not accept that some things are impossible. On the screen, more images appeared. These showed humans in later times, building great cities, flying through the air in metal machines, splitting atoms to make weapons that could destroy entire cities. Look at their history, Kethvar said. Ice covered their world many times. Each time, most life died, but humans lived through it. Volcanoes blocked out their sun for years. They survived. Diseases killed half their people. They kept going. Every time their world tried to kill them, they found a way to live. The images changed to show space. Human rockets climbing toward the stars. Space stations orbiting their planet. Robotic vehicles exploring other worlds. Now they have learned to leave their world behind. Do you think they will be stopped by our fleets? Do you think they will surrender when we tell them they cannot have something they want? The room was getting uncomfortable. Some of the council members were starting to look worried, but not all of them. Counselor Vextra stood up again. Her warrior's pride would not let her accept fear. So they are stubborn. So they do not give up easily. We have faced many stubborn enemies before. Our alliance controls 3 arms of this galaxy. We have more ships than they could build in 100 years. That is exactly the kind of thinking that will get us all killed, Kethvar said. His voice was getting stronger, filled with urgency. You are planning to fight them like you would fight any other race, but they will not fight like any other race. The Elder touched a control, and the screen showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Alliance territory. It covered most of the visible stars. You see this and think we are strong. You think our size and our technology make us safe. But humans will not see our strength. They will see our weaknesses. They will find ways to hurt us that we never thought possible. Young Captain Jake Morrison was light years away, standing on the bridge of a human ship called the Pathfinder. He did not know that aliens were talking about his people. He was looking at star charts and planning humanity's first journey to another star system. Dr. Carter, he said to the woman beside him, "Are you ready to make history?" Dr. Lisa Carter smiled. She was excited about meeting alien life for the first time. "Ready as we'll ever be, Captain. If there's anyone out there, we're going to find them." Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres was checking their weapons systems, not because he expected trouble, but because it was his job to be ready for anything. "All systems green, sir. We're ready to jump to hyperspace." None of them knew they were about to fly into the territory of the most powerful alien alliance in the galaxy. None of them knew that an ancient alien was trying to warn his people about humanity, and none of them knew that their peaceful mission would start the biggest war the galaxy had ever seen. Back in the council chamber, the vote was being taken. 12 races decided humanity's fate without ever meeting a single human. All in favor of classifying the humans as a minor emerging species requiring only standard monitoring? 11 hands, tentacles, and claws rose into the air. Only Elder Kethvar kept his hands down. "The motion passes," announced the council leader. "Humanity will be monitored but not considered a threat." Kethvar watched his people make the biggest mistake in galactic history. He had tried to warn them. He had shown them the truth, but they would not listen. As the council meeting ended and the aliens began to leave, Kethvar stayed behind. He looked up at the ceiling, where images of all the Alliance worlds sparkled like jewels. Soon, he thought, those lights might start going out. And when they did, everyone would remember that the Elder had tried to warn them about humanity. But by then, it would be too late. 3 months had passed since the council meeting. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, watching the stars change from lines of light back into dots as they dropped out of hyperspace. His heart was beating fast with excitement. "First, contact protocols are ready, Captain," said Dr. Lisa Carter. She had spent years dreaming of this moment. Her computers were loaded with pictures of Earth, human music, and mathematical formulas that any smart race should understand. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres was watching his sensor screens. "Sir, I'm picking up something big. Multiple contacts, moving in formation." Jake looked at the main screen as shapes appeared in the distance. They were ships, but like nothing humans had ever built. They were smooth and curved, glowing with soft energy, beautiful and alien. "My God," whispered Dr. Carter. "We found them. We actually found them." On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethdan was having a very different reaction. He was a Zephyrian, and his people had been members of the Alliance for over 2,000 years. He had never seen a ship design like the one that had just appeared in his patrol zone. "Analysis," he ordered his crew. "Unknown design, Admiral," reported his science officer. "The hull appears to be made of primitive metal alloys, but their energy shields are strange. Our scanners cannot penetrate them." Admiral Kethdan frowned. "Alliance scanners could see through any known shield technology. How were these primitives blocking them?" The truth was simple. Human ships were not built like alien ships. Where the aliens used energy fields and exotic matter, humans used thick metal armor and ceramic plates. The Alliance scanners were designed to see through energy barriers, not solid matter. "Sir," said Jake's communication officer back on the Pathfinder, I'm trying to establish contact, but I can't break through their transmission methods. Dr. Carter moved to her station. Let me try something. We'll broadcast on multiple frequencies. Mathematics first, then images of our solar system. The human ship began sending signals. Prime numbers, the value of pi, pictures of the sun and planets. On Earth, scientists had spent decades planning for this moment. On the alien ship, the translation computers tried to make sense of the signals, but they had never encountered human languages or human thinking before. The mathematical sequences looked like military codes. The pictures of Earth's cities looked like fortress complexes to alien eyes. "Admiral," said the communications officer, his voice worried, "these signals appear to be encoded military intelligence. The images show massive defensive structures and what might be weapons testing." Admiral Keth Dawn studied the transmissions. The humans were showing him pictures of their athletes running and jumping. To the alien admiral, it looked like soldiers, demonstrating superhuman physical abilities. "They're showing us their military capabilities," he decided. "This is either a threat or a test of our defenses." Jake tried again. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Pathfinder. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." The alien translation system could not understand English, but it detected the commanding tone in Jake's voice and decided the transmission was a demand for surrender. "Unknown vessel," Admiral Keth Dan transmitted back. "You have entered Alliance space without permission. Your military broadcasts are considered an act of aggression. Surrender immediately, or face the consequences." On the Pathfinder, the translation attempt failed completely. All Jake heard was strange alien sounds that his computer could not decode. "They're not responding to our peaceful overtures," Dr. Carter said, worry creeping into her voice. Ryan Torres was watching his tactical display with growing concern. "Captain, they're moving into an attack formation. Their weapons are powering up." Jake felt his stomach drop. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. Energy readings are spiking across their fleet." Admiral, Keth Dan had decided to fire warning shots. In Alliance space, this was a standard way to force unknown ships to surrender. He ordered his gunners to fire just in front of the human vessel. Bright energy beams lanced through space, missing the Pathfinder by what looked like a safe distance to the aliens. But the humans had no way to know these were warning shots. "They're firing at us!" Ryan shouted. Jake's mind raced. Everything he had been taught about first contact said to remain peaceful, but his crew was in danger. His ship was under attack by aliens who seemed hostile. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. The Pathfinder twisted and turned through space in ways that shocked the alien crews watching. Human ships were built to navigate asteroid fields and dodge space debris. They could change direction faster than any alien vessel. "How are they moving like that?" Admiral Keth Dan's pilot asked in amazement. The alien ships had been designed for long-range travel and energy efficiency. They were not built for the kind of rapid maneuvering that mining ships needed in dangerous asteroid belts. "Sir," Ryan reported, "their energy weapons can't track our movements if we keep changing course." Dr. Carter was frantically trying to send more peaceful signals. "Captain, let me broadcast more images, art, music, children playing, anything, to show them we're not hostile." But Admiral Keth Dan saw the human ship's impossible movements as proof of advanced military technology. No peaceful exploration vessel should be able to dodge his weapons so easily. "They came prepared for battle," he told his crew. "Open fire with full weapons." This time, the energy beams were not warning shots. They were aimed to disable the human ship. Jake watched the space around his ship fill with deadly energy. His crew was in danger. His ship was outgunned. Every instinct told him to run, but another part of his mind was thinking like his ancestors who had fought wars on Earth. "Ryan," he said quietly, "what weapons do we have?" "Just the railguns, sir. They're designed for clearing debris and breaking up asteroids." "Can they hurt those alien ships?" Ryan looked at his displays. The alien vessels had energy shields, but no physical armor worth mentioning. They had never needed to defend against. "Solid projectiles." "Sir, their shields might not stop kinetic weapons, but if we fire back, this becomes a shooting war." Jake thought about his orders from Earth Command. Establish peaceful contact, but also protect his crew and his ship. The aliens were not giving him much choice. Target their lead ship. Fire A. Warning shot across their bow. The Pathfinder's railgun fired a dense metal slug at incredible speed. The projectile passed in front of the alien flagship exactly like Admiral Keth Dan's warning shots had done. But the alien admiral did not understand that this was a warning. He saw a kinetic weapon that had punched through his energy shields. Like they were made of paper. They have weapons that can penetrate our defenses, he reported to his crew. All ships return fire, destroy the human vessel. The battle that followed was unlike anything either side had expected. The aliens had superior numbers and energy weapons that could destroy planets. But their tactics were designed for fighting other energy weapon ships. The humans had only one, ship and simple metal projectiles. But they fought like their ancestors had fought on Earth, using speed and unpredictability to survive against overwhelming odds. Jake ordered his ship to dive toward the nearest planet, using its gravity to slingshot, around and attack from an unexpected angle. The aliens followed in neat formations, exactly like their military manuals taught them. Fire at will, Jake ordered. The railguns spoke again and again. Dense metal slugs tore through alien shields and hulls. The aliens had never faced weapons that ignored their energy defenses, but there were too many of them. Energy beams finally found their target, and the Pathfinder's hull began to burn. Hull breach on Deck 3, Ryan reported. We can't take much more of this. Dr. Carter was crying as she watched humanity's first contact turn into a battle. Captain, we have to try to communicate. This is all a misunderstanding, but it was. Too late for that. Admiral Keth Dan was sending emergency signals to Alliance Command. The humans attacked without warning. They have weapons that can penetrate our shields. Request immediate reinforcements. As the Pathfinder limped away from the battle, its engines damaged and its hull burning, Jake made the hardest decision of his life. He activated the emergency beacon that would bring human military ships to investigate. Admiral Keth Dan watched the human ship escape and felt a chill run through his body. The primitive vessel had damaged 3 of his ships and destroyed one completely. If this was just one human ship, what could a human fleet do? News of the battle spread through Alliance space within hours. Every species began preparing for war, against an enemy they did not understand. On Earth, Admiral Steve Parker received the emergency signal and immediately began mobilizing every available ship. President Karen Walsh declared a state of emergency. Neither side wanted war. Both sides were afraid, and fear, as Elder Kethvar could have told them, makes people do terrible things. The galaxy was about to learn what humans did when they were afraid. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. Every Alliance world received the same terrifying message. Humans had attacked a peaceful patrol fleet without warning. Within days, war councils were meeting on dozens of planets. On the Ekasti, Tharkian homeworld, General Mordak slammed his fist on the metal table. One primitive ship destroyed an Alliance patrol vessel? How is that possible? The battle recordings played on the wall screen over and over. Military experts from every race studied the human ship's movements, trying to understand what they had seen. They fight without honor, said a young Tharkian officer. No formation, no strategy, just wild movements. General Mordak watched the human ship twist through space like a living thing. His people were warriors, but they fought with discipline and order. This looked like madness. Madness that worked, he admitted grimly. In the crystal cities of the collective, Ambassador Felnar's body glowed deep red with worry. Her people were peaceful traders who hated violence, but even they could see that something dangerous was coming. The humans used kinetic weapons, she reported to her council. Simple metal projectiles fired at high speed. Our shields are useless against them. The crystalline beings had never encountered such primitive weapons. Their energy shields could stop lasers, plasma bolts, even antimatter beams, but a simple piece of metal moving fast enough could shatter crystal as easily as glass. On the Nexari research stations, Commander Zil-Uk studied the human transmissions that had been captured. During the battle, his blue tentacles moved in patterns that showed deep confusion. Their mathematics are correct, but their logic is flawed, he told his science team. They sent us images of their world, their people, their achievements. By all rational analysis, these should have been peaceful overtures. Then why did they attack? Asked his chief scientist. Zilhook's tentacles curled in frustration. That is what makes no sense. They were clearly outgunned and outnumbered. Any logical species would have surrendered or attempted to negotiate. Instead, they fought like cornered animals. Across Alliance space, the same conversations were happening. Military leaders who had never lost a battle were struggling to understand an enemy that did not follow any known rules of warfare. Only, Elder Kethvar was not surprised. The ancient alien sat in his personal chambers, watching the reports with sad eyes. His attendant, a young Zephyrian named Pektar, brought him the latest intelligence briefings. Elder, the High Command wants to speak with you. They say your warnings about the humans were prescient. Kethvar made a sound that might have been laughter if it had not been so bitter. Now they want to listen. After they have already started the very war I tried to prevent. He stood slowly and walked to his window. Outside, he could see the Alliance, fleet gathering in orbit. Hundreds of ships, each one powerful enough to crack a planet's surface. The greatest military force in galactic history. They think this will be enough, he said quietly. Pektar looked confused. Surely it must be, Elder. The humans have only a few dozen ships at most. You do not understand. Numbers mean nothing to humans. Technology means nothing to humans. They will find a way to hurt us that we cannot imagine. On Earth, the emergency sessions had been going on for 3 days without stop. President Karen Walsh had not slept since the Pathfinder's distress signal arrived. Her advisors filled the Situation Room, their faces grim. Admiral Steve Parker spread star charts across the table. The alien fleet is massing here, in the Proxima Centauri system. Our best estimates put their numbers at over 300 ships. Dr. Pete Collins, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, studied the battle recordings for the 100th time. There's something wrong with this whole situation. Look at their initial transmissions. This feels like a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. Misunderstanding or not, Admiral Parker replied. They're bringing an invasion fleet to our doorstep. We have to respond. President Walsh rubbed her tired eyes. What do we have available? 37 ships that can fight, Parker said. Most of them are converted cargo haulers and mining vessels. The only real warship we have is the destroyer Washington. 37 ships against 300. The president stared at the numbers. Can we negotiate? We've tried, ma'am. They're not responding to any of our communication attempts. In the orbital shipyards above Earth, Commander Amy Morrison worked around the clock to prepare humanity's improvised fleet. Jake's sister had inherited the same stubborn determination that had gotten her brother into this mess. How many railguns can we mount on the cargo hauler Atlas? She asked engineer Tony Kim. Tony wiped grease from his hands and consulted his tablet. 6, maybe 8 if we rip out the life support for the cargo bays. Do it, and double the armor. Plating on the bow. If we're going to ram something, I want to make sure it hurts. Tony looked shocked. Ram something? Commander, these aren't warships. They're civilian vessels. Amy's eyes were hard as steel. They are now. Every human ship is a warship now. Across the solar system, the same scene was playing out. Mining ships were being fitted with military-grade explosives. Passenger liners were being converted into troop transports. Even the luxury cruise ship Paradise was being armed with makeshift weapons. Captain Ben Roberts commanded the mining vessel Hercules. His ship normally broke apart asteroids for their valuable metals. Now it was being loaded with the largest kinetic penetrators human engineers could build. These things were designed to crack open asteroids, he told his crew. Let's see what they do to alien hulls. His crew was scared but determined. They had families on Earth. They had homes to protect. The aliens might have better technology, but humans had something the aliens did not understand. They had everything to lose. Dr. Collins finally figured out what had been bothering him about the first contact incident. He burst into the president's office without waiting for permission. Madam President, I know what happened. The first battle was a mistake. Both sides misunderstood each other. President Walsh looked up from the military reports she was reading. Explain. The aliens fired warning shots first. Captain Morrison thought he was under attack and fired back in self-defense, but the aliens interpreted his return fire as an unprovoked assault. So this whole war is based on a translation error? Yes, ma'am. But it's too late to stop it now. The aliens think we're aggressive invaders. We think they're hostile conquerors. Both sides are preparing for a war that neither side actually wants. The president was quiet for a long moment. Can we send a message? Try to explain the misunderstanding? Admiral Parker shook his head. We've tried every frequency, every protocol. Either they can't understand our transmissions or they're choosing to ignore them. Unknown to the humans, their messages were being received. But Alliance intelligence was interpreting every peaceful overture as a psychological warfare tactic designed to make them lower their guard. Elder Kethvar made one final attempt to prevent disaster. He sent a secret transmission toward Earth, hoping to warn them of the fleet that was coming. The message contained everything he knew about Alliance military tactics and weaknesses, but Alliance security intercepted the transmission. To them, it looked like the humans had already corrupted one of their own leaders. The evidence of human cunning and deception was mounting. They turned one of our elders against us, reported the intelligence chief to the War Council. These humans are more dangerous than we thought. The Alliance fleet finished gathering in the Proxima Centauri system. 300 ships, armed with weapons that could shatter moons. Admiral Zephyron commanded the largest military force in galactic history. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump to the human home system, his communications officer announced. Admiral Zephyron studied the tactical displays one more time. Intelligence said the humans had fewer than 50 ships. The battle should be over in minutes. But he remembered the recording of that single human ship dodging through his fleet's weapons fire. He remembered how their primitive kinetic weapons had torn through energy shields like they were not even there. All ships, he broadcast to his fleet, remember that we face an unknown enemy. Do not underestimate them simply because their technology appears primitive. Light years away, the human fleet was making its final preparations. President Walsh had made the hardest decision of her presidency. Earth could not win a defensive battle against such overwhelming odds, so they would not fight defensively. Admiral Parker, she ordered, take our fleet to meet them in the Proxima system. Make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Ma'am, that's suicide. We'll be even more outnumbered in open space. The president thought about Elder Kethvar's warning, intercepted by human intelligence but not understood. She thought about her predecessors who had faced impossible odds before. Pearl Harbor, D-Day, the Cuban Missile Crisis. No, Admiral, that's strategy. We can't win by playing defense, but maybe we can make the cost of victory so high that they'll agree to talk instead of fight. As both fleets prepared to jump to hyperspace, neither side knew that they were about to participate in the most decisive battle in galactic history, a battle that would either end humanity's dream of joining the stars or teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Elder Kethvar watched the Alliance fleet disappear into hyperspace and whispered an ancient prayer for the dead. He knew that many beings, both human and alien, would not survive what was coming. The galaxy was about to learn why the elders had warned them about humanity. But no one had believed. The Proxima Centauri system had been empty of life for billions of years, just a red dwarf star and some rocky planets that would never know the touch of living beings. But today, it would witness the most important battle in galactic history. Admiral Zephyron's fleet arrived first. 300 ships arranged in the perfect formation that Alliance military academies had taught for 1,000 years. Energy shields glowing, weapons charged, sensors sweeping space for any sign of the enemy. Long-range sensors detect incoming hyperspace signatures, reported his science officer. Estimated 38 vessels. The Admiral nodded. The intelligence. Reports had been accurate. The humans were bringing their entire fleet to face the might of the Alliance. It would be a short battle. 20 minutes later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Admiral Parker commanded from the destroyer Washington, while the rest of his force consisted of converted civilian ships that had never been designed for war. Captain Ben Roberts looked out from the bridge of his converted mining ship Hercules at the alien fleet. The enemy vessels glowed like stars against the darkness of space. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. My God, whispered his weapons officer. There are so many of them. Count them if it makes you feel better, Ben replied calmly. But remember, we only need to hurt them badly enough to make them think twice. Admiral Zephyron studied the human formation with growing confusion. The human ships were not arranged in any pattern he recognized. Some were clustered together. Others spread out across vast distances. It looked like chaos. They have no discipline, his tactical officer observed. No formation, no clear command structure. Or they have a plan we do not understand, the Admiral replied carefully. He had read the battle reports from the first encounter. These humans fought unlike any enemy the Alliance had ever faced. Admiral, Parker's voice crackled across the human fleet's communication channel. All ships, remember the plan. We're not here to win a traditional battle. We're here to teach them that fighting humanity costs too much. Commander Amy Morrison commanded a squadron of converted cargo ships. Her vessel, the modified freighter, Liberty, looked nothing like a warship, but hidden in its cargo bays were the largest kinetic projectiles human engineers had ever built. Squadron leaders, report status, she ordered. Atlas ready. We've got mining charges that could crack a small moon. Paradise ready. Passenger compartments have been converted to launch tubes. Hercules ready. Every mining tool we own is now a weapon. The human fleet began to move, and immediately the Alliance officers realized they were seeing something new. The human ships did not advance in formation. Instead, they scattered like a flock of birds, each group moving in a different direction. What are they doing? Admiral Zephyron's tactical officer asked. The answer came quickly. The human ships began accelerating toward the Alliance fleet from multiple angles. Some dove under the alien formation, others swung wide to the flanks. The cargo ship Atlas actually dove straight toward the nearest star, using its gravity to slingshot back at incredible speed. They're using the entire system as their battlefield, the Admiral realized with growing alarm. Alliance doctrine called for ships to maintain formation and concentrate firepower. But the humans were forcing them to split their fire across dozens of targets coming from every direction. All ships maintain formation. Concentrate fire on the largest human vessels, Admiral Zephyron ordered. The space around Proxima Centauri lit up with energy weapons. Beams of pure destruction lanced out from the Alliance fleet toward the approaching human ships. Captain Linda Foster commanded the passenger liner Paradise. Her ship was not fast or armored, but it was carrying something the aliens would not expect. 300 human Marines in combat suits, ready to board enemy vessels. Energy beams struck her ship's hull, tearing through the metal plating. But the Paradise kept coming, its improvised armor holding just long enough. Ramming speed, Linda ordered. The Paradise slammed into an Alliance cruiser at full velocity. Both ships were destroyed in the collision, but the human Marines had already launched themselves across the gap between vessels. They crashed through the alien ship's hull in their armored suits, bringing the fight inside where the aliens' energy weapons could not help them. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The human ships were taking terrible losses, but they were making every loss count. The mining ship Hercules fired its massive rock-breaking charges at point-blank range, punching through alien armor like it was paper. Engineer Susan Wright had jury-rigged a jamming system from mining equipment. Every time the aliens tried to coordinate their attack, human electronic warfare scrambled their communications. Their tactics make no sense, reported Admiral Zephyron's communications officer. They're sacrificing ships unnecessarily, but the Admiral was beginning to understand. The humans were not trying to destroy the Alliance fleet. They were trying to make the Alliance afraid. Every human ship that died took at least one alien vessel with it. The converted cargo hauler Atlas used its mining explosives to destroy 3 Alliance ships before finally being overwhelmed. The passenger liner New Hope rammed an alien dreadnought, crippling it so badly that it had to withdraw from battle. Captain Ben Roberts watched his weapons officer target the enemy flagship. The Hercules was badly damaged, its hull breached in a dozen places. But its main weapon was still operational. 1 shot, 1 kill, he muttered, and fired the largest kinetic penetrator his ship carried. The dense metal projectile crossed the distance between ships in seconds. It punched through Admiral Zephyron's flagship like a spear through paper, destroying the ship's main reactor and crippling its weapon systems. As the Hercules died under concentrated alien fire, Ben Roberts smiled grimly. His ship had been built to crack asteroids, but it had just crippled the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Lieutenant Colonel Chris Taylor led one of the boarding parties that had made it onto an alien vessel. His Marines fought through corridors designed for beings twice their size, using tactics that left the alien defenders confused and terrified. The aliens were used to fighting with energy weapons at long range. They had never faced armored humans with assault rifles in close combat. The human weapons fired simple metal bullets that tore through alien bodies like they were made of cloth. "Secure the engine room," Chris ordered his team. "If we can't capture this ship, we'll make sure it never fights again." The human Marines planted explosives throughout the alien vessel's critical systems. When they were done, the ship could barely function, let alone fight. Admiral Zephyron transferred his command to another ship as his flagship drifted powerless through space. Around him, the battle was turning into a nightmare. His fleet still outnumbered the humans, but the cost was becoming unbearable. "Status report," he demanded. 47 ships lost or crippled, his new tactical officer reported. The humans have lost 26 vessels. The numbers should have been encouraging. The Alliance was still winning. But Admiral Zephyron understood what his crew did not. At this rate of exchange, the humans would destroy his entire fleet before they lost their last ship. Admiral Parker watched the battle unfold from the Washington's bridge. His plan was working, but the price was terrible. He was watching good people die, brave crews sacrifice themselves for a chance at peace. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship." "Put it through." Admiral Zephyron's voice came across the void, translated by computers that were finally beginning to understand human language patterns. "Human Commander, I request a ceasefire to discuss terms." Parker looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew, young men and women who had signed up to explore the stars, not to die in them. They had done their job. They had made the aliens afraid. "All human ships, cease fire and maintain position. Do not lower your guard, but hold your fire unless attacked." Across the battlefield, the shooting stopped. Broken ships drifted in space, their hulls torn open, and their crews dead or dying. The Proxima system was littered with the wreckage of two civilizations that had never wanted to fight each other. Admiral Zephyron stared at the tactical display showing his losses. 47 ships destroyed or crippled by a force 1/8 his size. His surviving crews were shaken, frightened by an enemy that fought like no race they had ever encountered. "Sir," his science officer said quietly, "we've analyzed the human tactics. They appear to be using their ships as guided weapons, not just transportation for weapons." "What do you mean?" "Every human vessel was armed and armored for ramming attacks. They designed their entire fleet to be expendable. They came here expecting to lose every ship, but planning to make us pay dearly for each one." The Admiral felt a chill run through his body. What kind of species planned for total defeat while still expecting to achieve victory? On Earth, President Walsh received the battle reports with mixed emotions. The human fleet had accomplished its mission, but at a terrible cost. 26 ships and their crews were gone. Families would mourn. Children would grow up without parents. But the aliens were talking instead of shooting. That was worth any price. Admiral Parker's voice came across the quantum communicator from the Proxima system. "Madam President, the alien commander wants to negotiate. I think our message got through." The president looked at the star charts showing both fleets, holding position in space, their weapons silent for the first time since the war began. "What kind of terms is he offering?" "He wants to understand why we fight the way we do. I think we scared them, ma'am. They've never faced anyone willing to lose everything just to prove a point." President Walsh smiled grimly. "Sometimes the best way to win a war was to show your enemy that you were willing to lose it." The galaxy was finally ready to listen to what humanity had been trying to say all along. They just wanted to belong among the stars. The ceasefire had lasted 3 days. In the Proxima system, human and alien ships floated near each other in an uneasy peace. Both fleets were licking their wounds and trying to understand what had happened. Admiral Zephyron had never experienced anything like the battle he had just fought. His crew moved quietly through the ship, speaking in whispers. They had seen their mighty fleet nearly destroyed by a force that should have been swept aside in minutes. Dr. Neltara, the Alliance's top expert on alien psychology, had arrived on the fastest ship available. She was an Exari like Commander Zil-Uk, but her specialty was understanding how different species thought and fought. "Admiral," she said as she studied the battle recordings, I need to see the human command ship. I need to speak with their leaders directly. Is that wise? These humans are clearly unstable. Dr. Neltara's tentacles moved in patterns that showed deep thought. That is exactly why I need to speak with them. Nothing in our databases prepared us for this kind of warfare. They fight like they want to die, or like they have nothing left to lose, the Admiral replied quietly. On the human flagship Washington, Admiral Parker was dealing with his own problems. His fleet was down to 11 functional ships. The crews were exhausted, frightened, and wondering if they would ever see home again. Captain Eddie Martinez commanded one of the few remaining converted cargo ships. His vessel, the former freighter Boston, had taken heavy damage but was still fighting capable. "Admiral," Eddie reported, "the alien ship approaching under a white flag is requesting permission to come aboard." Parker looked at the alien vessel on his screen. It was smaller than the warships, probably a diplomatic or scientific vessel. After 3 days of silence, the aliens finally wanted to talk. "Permission granted, but keep our weapons ready. This could be a trick." Dr. Neltara's shuttle docked with the Washington an hour later. When the airlock opened, the human crew got their first close look at a living alien. She was tall and graceful, with blue skin and tentacles instead of hair. Her large eyes showed intelligence and something that might have been fear. Admiral Parker met her in the ship's briefing room. Between them sat translation computers that had finally learned to convert human and Alliance languages. "I am Dr. Neltara," the alien said. Her voice was soft and musical. "I study how different species think and behave. I came here to understand why humans fight the way you do." Parker studied her carefully. She seemed genuine, but he had learned not to trust appearances. "What do you want to know? Why did you come here knowing you would lose? Why did your ships sacrifice themselves when they could have retreated? No rational species fights a battle they cannot win." The Admiral thought about how to explain it. How could he make an alien understand what it meant to be human? "We didn't come here to win a battle," he said finally. "We came here to win a war." Dr. Neltara's tentacles curled in confusion. "I do not understand the difference. Winning this battle was impossible. You outnumbered us 8-1. You have better technology, better weapons. By every logical measure, we should have been destroyed in minutes. Then why fight at all?" Parker stood up and walked to the window, showing the wreckage floating in space. Human and alien ships drifted. Together in death, their crews united in a way they had never been in life. Because sometimes losing a battle is the only way to win a war. We showed you that fighting humanity will cost you more than you're willing to pay. Even if you destroy every human ship, every human world, we'll make sure you remember us, Dr. Neltara was quiet for a long moment. Her species had evolved from prey animals that survived by being smarter than their predators. The idea of fighting when you knew you would lose was completely foreign to her. "Your species is willing to commit suicide just to hurt your enemies?" "Our species is willing to die to protect what we love," Parker corrected. "There's a difference." On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Zephyron received reports that chilled him to his core. Intelligence had finally analyzed the human ship designs and discovered something terrifying. "Sir," his chief engineer reported, "the human vessels were not just converted civilian ships. They were designed from the beginning to be weapons. Every modification they made was intended to maximize damage in suicide attacks." "What do you mean?" "They removed life support from non-essential areas to make room for more armor. They stripped out escape pods to carry more explosives. These humans came here planning to die." Admiral Zephyron thought about his own crews, good beings who had families waiting for them at home. They had joined the Alliance fleet to explore space and keep the peace, not to die in battles against insane aliens who fought like berserkers. How many more ships could they build like this? The engineer checked his reports. Intelligence estimates they have hundreds of civilian vessels that could be converted. Mining ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners. If they're willing to sacrifice all of them. The Admiral did not need to hear the rest. Even with the Alliance's superior technology, they could not afford to fight an enemy that turned every ship into a guided missile. In the quiet of his personal chambers, Elder Kethvar received the battle reports with sad resignation. He had tried to warn them. He had told them what humans were capable of. But as always, the younger races had to learn the hard way. His attendant Pektar brought him a message from the High Command. Elder, they want you to join the negotiations. They say your wisdom about humans might help prevent further bloodshed. Kethvar looked out at the stars that had been his people's home for thousands of years. Soon those stars might be shared with a new species, a species that fought wars not to conquer but to survive. Tell them I will come. But first, I want to send a message to the human leaders. Back on Earth, President Walsh had been awake for 6 days straight. The stress of commanding humanity's first interstellar war was taking its toll. But the reports from Admiral Parker gave her hope. The aliens want to negotiate? She asked Dr. Collins, who had been monitoring the translations. More than that, ma'am. I think they're genuinely afraid of us. Their psychological expert seems to think we're all insane. President Walsh almost smiled. Maybe we are. What sane species picks a fight with a galactic empire? A species that has nothing left to lose, Admiral Steve Parker said from Earth orbit. Ma'am, I recommend we send our best diplomatic team to the Proxima system. I think we can end this war. The negotiations took place on a neutral space station, hastily constructed in the debris field where so many had died. Elder Kethvar arrived first, his ancient ship moving slowly through the wreckage. When the human delegation arrived, led by Earth's top diplomat, Ambassador Frank Wilson, the Elder finally met the species he had tried to warn the galaxy about. Ambassador Wilson was a calm, intelligent man who had spent his career preventing wars on Earth. But even he was nervous about negotiating with aliens whose technology could destroy his entire world. Elder Kethvar, he said through the translation computers, I understand your people tried to warn the Alliance about humanity. The ancient alien's 4 eyes studied the human diplomat carefully. I did. But they would not listen. They thought, you were just another primitive species that could be easily controlled. And now? Now they understand that some species cannot be controlled, only respected or destroyed. And destroying you would cost more than anyone is willing to pay. Dr. Neltara presented her findings to the negotiating table. The human psychological profile is unlike anything in our databases. They appear to value abstract concepts like honor and freedom more than individual survival. This makes them extremely dangerous in combat situations. Ambassador Wilson nodded. We prefer to think of it as being extremely motivated for peace. We didn't want this war. We just wanted to join the galactic community. Elder Kethvar spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. Then, perhaps it is time for the community to change to accept you. The negotiations lasted 2 weeks. In the end, humanity was granted membership in the Zephyrian Alliance, but with conditions that had never been imposed on any other species. Human ships would be limited in number but could be armed as heavily as their builders desired. Human colonies would be established in uninhabited systems, but humans would have the right to defend them by any means necessary. Most importantly, the Alliance would never again assume they understood how humans thought or fought. Captain Jake Morrison, recovered from his injuries in the first battle, stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Pathfinder as it approached the first joint human-alien space station. His sister Amy stood beside him, now promoted to Admiral after her heroic service in the war. Think it will work? Amy asked. Peace between species that are so different? Jake watched alien and human ships working together to construct the massive station. It has to work. We proved we can't be conquered. Now we have to prove we can be trusted. On the Alliance homeworld, the Great Council met again. This time, Elder Kethvar's warnings carried the weight of bitter experience. Let this be recorded. For future generations, the council leader announced. When the elders warn you about a species, listen. Because some warnings are prophecies, and some prophecies come true. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about humanity. Humans did not fight wars to win territory or resources. They fought wars to survive. And a species that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and global disasters was not going to be stopped by superior technology or overwhelming numbers. The humans had finally found their place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals, who had earned their seat at the galactic table through courage, sacrifice, and the absolute refusal to give up. Elder Kethvar, now very old even by his species' standards, watched the first human children playing with alien youngsters. On the new space stations, Perhaps he thought his warnings had served their purpose after all. The galaxy was a more dangerous place now that humans were part of it. But it was also a more interesting place. And sometimes, he reflected, that was worth the risk. The elders had warned them about humanity, and now the galaxy knew why.